Good morning. Welcome to the 2004 ProRodeo Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're blessed this morning to have a gorgeous day and to have all of you here with us to share it. We'd like to start the program this morning with an invocation by Mr. Roy Gene Evans of the Texas Stampede.
Pray with me, please. Father, we have so much to be thankful for. We thank you for our families. We thank you for this rodeo family. We thank you for these 2004 inductees. Ask your blessings on them and their families, and to the past honorees, Father, that are here, and those that have gone on before us, Father, we honor them also. Father, we pray for wisdom on how to make the sport better and how to honor you in doing so. We pray for these United States of America, Father. We ask your blessings on her and for our troops all over the world. We pray for safety for them and their families. We pray for our athletes in Athens, Greece at the Olympics, Father. We ask safety for them and for all the athletes of the world, that each one of them may do their best, and that we would do our best in this life that you've given us. And these things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
And now, if you would please rise for the national anthem performed by Miss Marcy Hero.
You're welcome to join me in singing. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's been a great ride for 25 years. The memories, the faces, the accomplishments of ProRodeo and the ProRodeo Hall of Fame. 25 memorable years, from a vision to reality. 25 years ago this month, a very special gathering marked opening day and the induction of the first class of honorees into what was the ProRodeo Hall of Champions. The history of rodeo and how America's original extreme sport has changed are vividly chronicled here as rodeo continues to grow. And the ProRodeo Hall of Fame has created its own special memories. Today, a new class is honored. The 25th anniversary inductees. As we celebrate 25 years, it's only fitting that we bring back a champion of the Western way of life who was here on that first opening day. Red Stegall served on the first Hall Board of Directors. He was present as rodeo made its first baby steps into television. and he has continued to be a supporter of rodeo and the Hall of Fame over the years. Recently inducted into the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, and always a friend of rodeo, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Red Steagall.
Oh, thank you. What an honor. And to come here today and see this beautiful facility and think about the things that happened over 25 years ago. About 27 years ago, Dale Smith and Jack Roddy set me down at the convention in Denver and said, we're going to do something very special and we need all the help we can get. And that year we started a dance so that we could show Western music and country music to rodeo committees all over the country. And some of the young acts that we introduced were Mo Bandy and Reba McEntire and George Strait. They went on to have wonderful careers and contribute a tremendous amount to rodeo. And I remember when we came out here the first time, it was just a hill covered with native vegetation. And it was very hard to see how this could evolve from that. But it took a lot of hard work and a lot of dedicated people. I'm reminded of a young man who's out on a West Texas highway, and there's a very unusual experience. It rains. And, you know, we don't get enough rain out there to wash the oil and the rubber off the highways, so they get a little slick when we get a little shower. And he ran his little car off into the ditch, and he buried it plumb up to the hubs. And he tried everything he'd been taught to get that car out, and nothing had happened. He had a blanket in the back seat he threw under the back wheels, and it didn't work. He had one of those little fold-over Army surplus shovels, and he dug out in front of the front wheels, and that wouldn't work. And he looks over in the pasture about half a mile over there, and he sees a light. So he thought he'd go over there and see what had happened, not knowing what was kind of reception he was going to get at 2 o'clock in the morning. But he walks over there and knocks on the door, and the fellow answers the door and said, I reckon you need some help this time of night. And he said, yes, sir, I do. He said, my little car's stuck and I can't get it out. That feller said, well, if you'll give me a chance to hook up old Buddy, I'll help you. So he went out to the barn, and in a few minutes he came back, and he had this big Clydesdale horse, all harnessed up and had a long chain dragging behind him, and they walked down the lane and hooked it on the front end of that car. This old boy took the reins, and he said, pull, Polly. Nothing happened. He said, pull, Jake. Nothing happened. He said, get up, Dan. The old horse just stood there. He said, pull, Buddy. And that old horse just pulled that car right out of the ditch. This fellow said, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But you got to tell me, why did you call that horse all those other names before you called him Buddy? He said, son, old Buddy's blind. And if he thinks he's the only one pulling, he ain't going to move an inch. There have been an awful lot of folks pulling on the same rope for a long, long time. And we're very blessed that those people 25 years ago had the vision and the foresight to preserve the great American sport of rodeo with a Hall of Fame and exhibits that people all over the world can enjoy and learn about our beloved sport of rodeo. It doesn't happen all by itself. It takes leadership. It takes people working hard every single day to make sure that the dignity of rodeo is protected at every turn of the road, and that it is perpetuated in a very graceful and solid way, and that we retain the traditions, the heritage, and the values that got us to this point. We're very fortunate to have a commissioner at the head of our organization who has all of those motives and all of those characteristics to preserve and perpetuate our beloved sport of rodeo. Would you make welcome the Commissioner of Rodeo, Mr. Steve Hatchell.
Well, thank you, Red. Isn't it great to have Red Steagall here? This is very, very special. Not only is he a good friend, but in the typical rodeo fashion, whenever you need some help, the first one to come through the door is red. It's one of the reasons that we have this wonderful building. I have a couple of tasks to do today. And first of all, I'd like to say on behalf of the trustees of the Hall of Fame, the PRCA Board of Directors, we want to say welcome to all of you. This is a record turnout for us. And what's great about this is it's a gathering of the family, the ProRodeo family. And when it happens in rodeo, it happens right here. And so we're very, very honored to have you here today to celebrate our 25th anniversary. I'd like to go through some introductions, and it's important. And as Red pointed out, it takes a lot of people to make a lot of things happen in rodeo. And so if you would go with me as we talk about some of the people that make all of this happen, because rodeo is in a terrific growth mode, and it's not just the staff, but it's the people in rodeo that make it happen. And so if you would take a moment just to say hello, first of all, to the Hall of Fame Board of Trustees with us today. Benny Butler, Terry Sullivan, Hal Littrell, Kelly Wardell, and Harry Vold. If you'd stand, please, so we could recognize you, and thank you for what you do. Thank you. Some members of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee are here today, and let me tell you, they do a marvelous job, and all you have to do is look at this class of 2004, and you see what a marvelous job they do all of the time. In addition to Harry Vold, we've got Ed Kanoki of the Dallas Morning News and Dan Gaddis of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo are here from the Selection Committee. Gentlemen, if you'd please stand as well. Thank you. Thank you, Harry. A lot of special guests, and in fact, one of the frightening things about a day like today is that all of you deserve recognition because rodeo is a big part to you. But we'd like to point out some of the people that have made some things happen that have been very special. First of all, we talked about Red Stiegel. He was on the first board of directors. He's been with us all of the time. Red is terrific because he's one of those that has a vision and then gets behind it. Next, we'd like to thank, and on your way in through the front, you probably came through a new exhibit that's just 2 weeks old, dedicated to Casey Tibbs. And all of that material that you see out there came from one lady who was gracious enough to turn it over to the Hall of Fame so that we can honor Casey Tibbs as our best. And if you would say hello to Michelle Begovich, and Michelle, thank you. If you'd please stand, and thank you for turning all of those great things over to us. We sure appreciate you very much. A member of the Hall of Fame, and the person very strongly identified as the reason that we're in Las Vegas for the National Finals Rodeo, is Benny Binion. Benny Binion's daughter is here. If you would say hello to Brenda Michaels. Brenda, thank you. In 1978, the operations manager for the Hall of Fame and Museum logged over 124,000 miles and countless hours interviewing champions and collecting memorabilia that provided the foundation for what we now have as the Hall of Fame. Would you please say hello to Kenny Compton? Kenny, thank you. We'd like to refer to our move into the future as being extremely aggressive, and all of the people that participate in that we view as part of Team Rodeo. From BKD, the accounting firm that keeps us all moving, Brenda Smith. Brenda's in the back. Thank you, Brenda. From Home Robertson Owens, our legal advisor, Steve Smith. Steve, thank you, and Rich Young, thank you so much. The general manager of the National Finals Rodeo and all of our finales, member of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Sean Davis. Sean, thank you, partner. And the new head of the PRCA judging program, which is vital to the success of the PRCA, Mr. John Davis. John, thank you. You've met Roy Gene Evans from the Texas Stampede and what that event means to us. And Roy Gene, it's great to have you with us today. One of the great ambassador programs that we have in rodeo is the Miss Rodeo America program. If you would say hello to the leadership of that organization, Arlene Kensinger, Arlene Worley, and the head of Miss Rodeo America, Brianna Wadhams, if you'd please stand, and all of the state queens that are represented here today as well. Thank you for what you do. We sure appreciate you. The nice lady sitting to Red's and my right up here is Miss Rodeo America for 2004, and she'll be helping us through this ceremony. And a big thank you for all of the hard work, all the things that she does for us, Miss Darcy Robertson. Darcy. Thank you. Arguably one of the finest sporting events in America is the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and our partner in that venture is Las Vegas Events. Two of the representatives of their board that we work closely with are here, the head of Las Vegas Events, Pat Christensen, and board member Berlin Miller. Gentlemen, thank you guys. Great to have you with us. Thank you. The commissioner of College Rodeo, and talk about a growth mode. Under his leadership, they're doing fantastic things. Say hello to John Smith. John, thank you. You've heard us talk often that we can't move ahead without our corporate partners. They're not sponsors, they're partners because they make it happen. They put wind in our sails. We can't move ahead without them because they help us so much. Would you join me in saying hello to some of them here today? The president of Dodge Rodeo, Mr. Steve Gander. Steve? The manager of special events, marketing, Wrangler, Carl Stressman. Thank you, buddy. From Justin Brands, Sports Medicine Program, Crisis Fund, you name it, they're there. Please say hello to their president, Randy Watson, and the director of event marketing, Tom Feller. Thank you, guys. From Coors, and it might be that Peter Coors is the next U.S. Senator from Colorado. We're kind of hoping so. Would you welcome Donna Keffler, Rodeo Event Supervisor, and Tom Hohensee. Thank you both. From ProRodeo Films, a new enterprise that we have that produces the videos that many of you order throughout the country. Please say hello to David Galat. And David, thank you for your work here today as well. We invest in a sport that is dangerous, not only from those who stage it, but from the contestants who ride, and making every effort to make this a safe journey for all of us. Would you say hi to a critical part of what we do from specialty program insurers for the Cowboys and for the events, Jerry Ford, Tammy Brown, and Kevin Shoemaker. Thank you all. Thank you, guys. From U.S. Smokeless Tobacco, Mr. Darrell Barron, manager of Western Marketing Promotions. Darrell? We know him as Shoot Boss, too, so. We have a new sponsor, and we are really proud of this sponsor. You're going to meet some people today that you haven't met before. Would you please say hello to an integral part of this, he's a Colonel Thomas Nickerson. He's the Director of Advertising, Public Affairs for the United States Army Accessions Command. He's in charge of the U.S. Army sponsorship for NASCAR, the NHRA, arena football, and the high school football all-star game. Would you say hi to Colonel Thomas Nickerson? Nick, where are you? Thank you, buddy. We're starting down the road with a wonderful time with them. With the U.S. Army from Relay Sports that helped Colonel Nickerson are Matt Aris and Tom Tiernan. Thank you both for being here today, guys. I have to get in a plug also for my good buddy, A.G. Myers from the Lazy Arena. A.G., glad you're here today, buddy. Thanks for what you do for rodeo, pal. We do have some members of the PRCA Board of Directors, Mr. Jimmy Powers, Benny Butler, and Kelly Wardell, and we sure appreciate you guys being here. They're working hard on behalf of rodeo. We have many rodeo committees here today, and I'm not going to take the time to go through that, but I want you to know that you are very, very special to us, and thank you for your friendship, and it's wonderful to have you here today. I have one other friend that I want to introduce you to. You've seen us introduce him at the NFR. For the past few years, he's not only been a great friend of rodeo, but he's been a great friend of all of ours. In November, he's leaving his position in his post. And you've seen him from a distance. He means a great deal to the United States. He means a great deal to our freedoms. He means a great deal to everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. He's not in uniform today, and he's got a hat because he's one of us. And he was very kind enough to come and join us. You've heard Bob Tallman introduce him in the past, last few NFRs, but you get a chance to say hello today. Let me tell you a little bit about him. And you've heard Bob do this, and he does it far better than I. But nonetheless, the material is the same. Graduated from the Air Force Academy just up the street here 36 years ago, and he's retiring. His line of work has been to protect us and to keep us safe in this country. President Bush tapped him to head the Pentagon's new Homeland Defense Command, the Northern Command, the only name recommended to President Bush, and he jumped on it. His resume is unbelievable. We all have resumes. This is a resume that you all need to take a look at sometime. 300 missions in Vietnam, Commander, North American Aerospace Command, U.S. Space Command, Air Force Space Command. On September 11th, he's the one who directed NORAD fighters to protect our skies. His job today as the head of Northern Command is to protect the air, land, and sea of the United States. All of it falls under his command. I know them as Ed and Karen. They're great parents. He's a pretty good golfer. They're a wonderful dinner host that I get to join with them a lot. Most of all, I call them one thing, and you need to call them the same. Not only is he General Ed Eberhart and Karen Eberhart, but we call them friends. General and Karen, you would please. Thank you. I think it's fair to say that from all of us to you too, you have an open invitation to the NFR every year. And in fact, we can go so far as to say we command you to be there, sir. I'd be remiss before we get into some of our celebrations if I didn't say thank you to Pat Hildebrand and the Hall of Fame staff for how great the building looks and how great the ceremony is. And so thank you to all you wonderful people. And as I mentioned before, the PRCA staff, they have done a marvelous job. We've gone to another level of doing new things, and so from me to you, as my compadres, and for all of you, what goes on in rodeo, if you'd say thank you to the PRCA staff for all that they do. Well, let's take a moment before we meet our inductees and talk about a couple of things. Today we celebrate our 25th anniversary of the founding of the Hall of Fame and the museum. Imagine, if you will, and let's go back, and you heard Red talk about that this was nothing but a lot of dirt. You could go from the Air Force Academy to downtown and not see a lot of things. In 1978, the ProRodeo world was in 3 offices all over Colorado. Josie and Hugh Bennett have rodeo files in their car trying to keep things together. And the visionaries said, let's have one office. Today, it's 100,000 square feet. Colorado Springs says, we're going to make it happen. And while we're at it, let's have a museum and Hall of Fame. For $1.9 million, they made the deal despite the naysayers. This happened in Cheyenne, and it was done on cocktail napkins. Just how Southwest Airlines became a reality, it was done on cocktail napkins. From napkins to reality, from renters to owners, from 3 buildings to 1, from 2 cities to 1. We are now all the custodians of this legacy, the home of the files, the history, and the heart of rodeo. And we need to thank so very many people. The sponsors who believed in this vision. Many, many generous people. The Jasper Ackermans, the Thayer Tutts, the John Burks, the Bud Shepherds, the John Justins, the Bill Herveys, the Mac Baldridges, and many others that would take us all day to name. Who would have thought today that rodeo, of all sports, would have this wonderful and beautiful facility on 14 acres at the base of Pikes Peak? We can put this building and this structure up against any that are in the National Football League or the NBA and take our place among the great sports programs in the country. We have hosted over 1 million people to the Hall of Fame in 25 years, visitors from every state, from all across Canada. We have been host to every element of the U.S. Congress, senators, representatives, governors, people from all over the world. Because of General Eberhart, we hosted NATO here and Secretary Rumsfeld, 36 countries, 700 people, defense ministers and ambassadors from those countries, right here for a rodeo, right here for a barbecue. Richard Myers, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was here along with other wonderful people who do great things for our country. It's been the site of meetings for NORAD, the United States Olympic Committee, the International Olympic Committee, and the international governing bodies of Olympic sports. The Hall of Fame has been visited by actors and actresses who love this lifestyle. 3 new additions are here that you have to see before you leave. To my left is a new bronze, which completes the entire bronze display that we have here at the Hall of Fame, and it's to Scamper and to Charmaine James. Scamper is a member of the Hall of Fame. John Lopez is the artist. It's a great statue. You should look at it. We talked about Casey Tibbs and the display that's on the inside. More of that to come. And the Las Vegas events people are breathing life into the Hall of Fame, because the next time you come, and you have to come back soon, we will have many, many displays in the NFR section of the Hall of Fame dedicated to the 20th anniversary of the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. The look of the building is terrific. It was featured on CBS Sports last week when they did the International Golf Tournament. On both Saturday and Sunday, they talked that short distance from the golf tournament, go to the PRC and go to the Hall of Fame. The sports news that you have captures the history of what's taken place in this beautiful facility. And where is rodeo today? There are now over 60 million people who watch rodeo on television, growing every year. This past year, according to the Sports Business Journal, we had over 24 million people who went to rodeos, paid tickets to go to rodeos, which put us 7th among all sports. And we had the highest growth capacity and growth rate of any sports. The only ones that are ahead of us are the stick and ball sports. Talk about growth. And our attendance here today is a record attendance. Rodeo is a sport noted because it's made up of individuals. In this building, we are able to create the foundation and to centralize the individuality of this sport. Within all of this is the vision of the future built on a rich history. And all of it's built on the cowboy spirit. We are fortunate to be in Colorado Springs with all of its great leadership, its support and splendor. America the Beautiful was written here, and all you have to do is look up at Pikes Peak and you can see why that became a reality. As we return to our roots in these troubling times, we have so much to be thankful for. We are here to honor the class of 2004, which is a spectacular group of men and women. But because it's our 25th, we wanted this to be very, very special. And with that, we've asked a lot of our past inductees to be here. And I would like to ask at this time if Red Stiegel would come back and go through the list of the inductees who are here. Red?
Thank you, Steve. How about a great big round of applause for Steve Hatcherley? What does it mean to be inducted into a Hall of Fame? It means that your colleagues and your peers think that you have done something special that needs to be recognized. And a lot of times you would think, well, that's the pinnacle. Where else is there to go? It actually is a beginning. Because you have the feeling, as an inductee into this hall, that you are somebody special and you have been chosen to represent your chosen profession, and you're part of that profession, to future generations in an attitude that is indicative of the time in which you lived. That's a very honorable position. And I've asked several of you how it feels, and you don't know, you can't explain it. But it is a very special feeling. Those names will be enshrined in this hall as long as this building stands. And I think there's a bunch of us going to make sure it stands a long time, aren't we? We have in the building this afternoon, or in this tent, we'll call it a building, people who contributed to a way of life that we still enjoy, and built an industry and a way of life that have made a whole bunch of us a good living for a long time. And I'd like for you to join me in welcoming the 1979 inductee for the bareback event, Jack Bushbaum. Thank you, Jack. 1997 contract personnel, Bobby Clark. '79 saddle bronc, Sean Davis. 2000 contract personnel, Mr. George Doak. 2001 notables, Doc Etienne. 1997 notables, Eldon Evans. Thank you, Eldon. 1979 contract personnel, the Cajun Kid. Dudley Gaudin, thank you. 1979 bareback, John Hawkins. 1997 notables, Mr. Bill Hervey, one of our longtime corporate supporters. 1992 saddle broncs, Clint Johnson. 2000 notables, Mr. Cecil Jones. 2002 for bull riding, Gary LeFew. Rodeo Lifetime Achievement Award in 1998, Mr. Sonny Linger. '90, a notable category, Mr. Clem McSpadden. All-around cowboy in 1979, Mr. Larry Mahan. Inducted in 1996 for bull riding, Charlie Sampson. Inducted in 2003, contract personnel, Nancy Shepard. Inducted in 1979, all-around cowboy, Mr. Jim Shoulders. In the notable category in 1999, Mr. Bob Fain. Stock contractor, inducted in 1994, Mr. Harry Vold. Inducted in 2001 in the saddle bronc category, Mr. Guy Weeks. Bareback rider extraordinary, inducted in 1993, Mr. Bruce Ford. Stock contractor. I've already got you, Harry. They got you down twice. We'll give you another round of applause, though. In the contract personnel inducted in 1999, Mr. Hadley Barrett. And I've saved this one for last. Inducted in 1979 in the steer roping, again, was one of the original inductees into this hall, Mr. Shade Webster. Are we ready to go to the 2004 inductees? This is our freshman class, and we're awfully proud of them. Together, they have contributed a tremendous amount to the world of rodeo, to its perpetuation and its preservation. And recognized by the Hall this year for its outstanding enhancement to the sport of rodeo is Pocatello, Idaho, in the Dodge Circuit Finals. Some 20 years after the first National Finals Rodeo was created as a championship for the full-time rodeo contestants, A circuit system was created for the cowboys who were serious about competition but couldn't make it their full-time job. In 1987, the Dodge National Circuit Finals Rodeo was created to offer a championship event for those contestants. You know, it also gives the weekend cowboy an opportunity to compete with world champions and perhaps a chance to be the victor. Today, the DNCFR, held each March at the Holt Arena in Pocatello, Idaho, is a $400,000 plus championship and one of the crown jewels on the Pro Rodeo's annual calendar of events. Since its inception in 1987, Pocatello has held the event, and each year it keeps getting bigger, better, and more prestigious. Congratulations, Pocatello, for your more than 17 years of supporting and enhancing the sport of rodeo.
Colorado Springs this bright and sunny Saturday. You know, I haven't had an opportunity to meet Red personally. Just heard of his title and how great he's been for the sport of rodeo, but I don't know if you felt it in his voice, but I felt it in his heart. His true love for the sport of rodeo. So Red, let's give him a hand for his commitment to our great sport. You know, he leaned over just before ready to start and says, now remember, keep it short. So with that wise counsel from a great man, my name is Dale Alvin. I'm lucky to be the chairman of the Dodge National Circuit Farms Rodeo this year. And it's an honor to be here to not only represent the folks that are with us today, but also about 250 volunteers back in Pocatello, Idaho, that sent their hearts and their appreciation to the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame for this honor. It's great to be here and represent those hardworking volunteers. As you know, many of you have volunteers that spend countless hours and many days in their time to make this sport as great as it is. You know, there's no greater honor than to be held in high esteem with those of your peers. We value the great people that are in this room today. We appreciate the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame Selection Committee for giving us this special opportunity. We appreciate you folks and your vote of support by attending our rodeos, the great contestants, the great support staff from the PRCA, Mr. Jim Nichols and his strength and endurance through all, and of course Commissioner Hatchell that has given us such great guidance in some of the most challenging but yet opportunistic times that we've had for a rodeo. It's great to be included in the 25th anniversary of this great Hall of Fame. I think they need another round of applause, folks, for all of the great work that they've done. I'm especially grateful for this weekend for a group of special folks that actually took the time away from work and drove down to attend this special event with us. If I could have those of the Board of Directors and Committee from the DNCFR, would you please stand and let these folks express appreciation for you being here with us today? Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, as you noticed, our rodeo, our National Finals Championship started in, the initial phase of it started in 1986. And you know, there was a certain group, small group of folks in Pocatello, Idaho that had a dream. They had a dream of a national championship that would give these weekend cowboys and cowgirls a chance to become the best that they could. And today I would like to ask Lana Jean Conroy if she would stand. Ladies and gentlemen, Lana Jean is the leader of the band that made this thing happen for Pocatello. So let's give her a round of applause. She's still our First Lady of Rodeo in Pocatello, Idaho. So we appreciate her coming and being here. You know, I was a little concerned as to what message I might leave here today, and so I felt like the best idea is to look at past inductees, and thanks to Pat Hildebrand, she was kind enough to send me a couple of videos. And one of the consistent things I found was that it seemed like in the lives of these inductees there was a particular phrase or a turning point in their life that helped kind of give them a consistent direction or a focus on the future. And you know, as I looked at those, I thought, you know, as a rodeo committee, what kind of things have we experienced that gave us these special little favorite phrases that maybe keep us focused? And, you know, a couple of things came to mind, and I don't know how many of you know Mr. Jim Nichols, but, you know, he's indemnified in my mind a special phrase that's special to him. It's, just give me a 2-hour rodeo. So, Jim, I want you to know that, you know, in March of this year, after 18 years of trying really hard, we did give Jim a 2-hour rodeo. So we appreciated your concentration there. The second was Commissioner Hatch. He came on board about 1998. He had a special phrase to us. He says, now, Dale, repeat after me, Team Rodeo, Team Rodeo. So, Commissioner, thank you for that great inspiration. And, of course, any of you that have been to our rodeo and traveled into the state of Idaho, you probably hear this thing consistently, and this is good guidance for all, regardless of what diet you're on, but it's eat Idaho potatoes, they're low carb. But, you know, with the subtle help from Commissioner Hatchell, there was kind of a special little discussion we had one day and trying to decide where we were headed. And, you know, he said, and I'll quote here, Dale, never forget who you are, why you are here, and where you are going. Know the part you play and play it well. And we want the Commissioner and all the fans of rodeo and all of the contestants and everyone here today to know that we will continue as the Dodge National Circuit Farms Rodeo to be the platform for the future champions of the world. So we were really excited. And in the, you know, in 1998, there was a major turning point for our rodeo. And we took the phrase Team Rodeo to a new level. And for just a moment in time, I would appreciate knowing that in our committee we have that team effort. And I'd like to have 3 individuals that captured the moment with me and decided we were taking the rodeo to a new level. I'd like to ask Chairman Emeritus Dee Green to please stand, past Chairman K.T. Anderson, and current President Norm Hill. Folks, this is our team from the DNCFR. And also, in closing, I feel like it would be remiss of me if I didn't pay a special honor to our First Lady of Rodeo. Lana Jean, would you please come up here and help me accept this recognition of our great rodeo? Ladies and gentlemen, she epitomizes the true spirit of rodeo in the DNCFR. Thank you.
One more time. The Pocatello, Idaho, and the Dodge Circuit Finals. Inducted into the Hall this year in the media category is Dave Smith.
Dave Smith, who retired after 23 years as executive sports editor of the Dallas Morning News in April 2004, helped build a nationally recognized sports section and pushed rodeo to the forefront not only as a regional, but also as a national sport. It was because of Dave's many prestigious awards and his recognition of the sport of rodeo that many other large newspapers followed his desire to enhance rodeo. Under Smith's guidance, the Dallas Morning News was one of the first newspapers to cover professional rodeo on par with other professional sports. Sports Day, the Dallas Morning News sports section, features a weekly rodeo column, includes rodeo results on the agate page, provides extensive coverage of the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo and the championship events in the Pace Picante Pro Rodeo Series, and produces a mid-year report on the race for World Champions. Smith's career began in 1957 when he was named sports editor of the Marine Corps Air Station's base newspaper, the Windsock. He later served in a similar capacity at newspapers in his native Ohio. There was Mansfield and Asheville. In Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Boston, Washington, D.C., and Dallas. He joined the Dallas Morning News as executive sports editor of the Sports Day in 1981, becoming an assistant managing editor in 1983 and deputy managing editor in 1987. Smith was named sports director of the Below Publishing Division in 1998. Since 1983, Sports Day has been honored as one of the top 10 daily and Sunday sections by the Associated Press sports editors. Recognized nationally as a sports journalism innovator, Smith is a founder and past president of the Associated Press sports editors, as well as a recipient of their prestigious Red Smith Award in 1990. He was inducted into the Texas Baseball Hall of Fame in 1992 and was recognized by the Dallas All Sports Association with its award for high professional standards and commitment to journalistic principles in 1992. We're honored to induct Dave Smith into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame for his outstanding service and guidance, bringing the sport of rodeo to the level of other professional sports media recognition.
Wow. Thank you very much. As you might have noticed, I was sitting there like a good journalist making all these little notes, figuring that I have so much to say, and then I just realized that the only thing I really have to say is, and this is a cliche, but and you've heard it too many times in the world of sports especially, but for this one moment is the truest cliche I can think of for me, and that is, I'm the luckiest man in the world. God has really blessed me. For 44 years, I have had a job that most people would love to do, which is going to rodeos, to Super Bowls, to baseball, to football, living in the world of sports, helping to chronicle the history of sports. He's also blessed me with one of the most wonderful wives that any man could have for that same 44 years, who is the person who's inspired me. I've had an opportunity to meet great people, make great friends in the world of sports. Everyone from, General, I noticed you laughed at my Marine Corps picture there, by the way. And to age myself, I had an opportunity to make good friends with some great athletes such as Muhammad Ali, then Cassius Clay, Bobby Orr, John Havlicek, coaches Jimmy Johnson, Tom Landry, Byron Nelson, Doak Walker, and so on. But let me say this, that he doesn't like me. For 44 years, I've watched athletes, coaches of all levels, and having an opportunity, thank you, switch it, can you hear that? Still can't, anyway, the only message I have here today, very briefly, is that, and again, this is so true, watching all these athletes, these coaches, there's no greater athlete, and I have said this long before there was any thought of my being inducted into this Hall of Fame, no greater athlete than the rodeo cowboy. And again, with my 44 years experience, I can say these are athletes who conduct themselves with class, with dignity, and they certainly are the toughest that you can be. So, one final point I'd like to make. Over these years, I also have gotten to know way back in my Miami days, which is almost centuries ago, much less decades ago, Steve Hatchell. You are blessed. I have over my career gotten to know the Pete Rozells, the David Stearns, the great commissioners. You are blessed with one of the truly great commissioners in the world of sport. Finally, let me just say, again, it's a cliche. I really don't deserve to be here. I'm being honored for basically doing my job. So I'd like to step aside now for the true Hall of Famers. Thank you very much. David? Thank you.
We present to you one more time, Dave Smith. Inducted into the Hall this year in the saddle bronc category, Alvin Nelson.
Alvin Nelson was a ranch-raised kid from the Mobridge, South Dakota area. He wanted to be a top bronc rider from the time he was given his own pony at the age of 6. In high school, he wasn't interested in the more popular sports of football and basketball. His full attention was on rodeo. In 1952, he won the South Dakota State High School Saddle Bronc Championship and went on to win the National High School Bronc Riding title. Soon after graduating from high school, he joined the Rodeo Cowboys Association and entered his first rodeo at the National Western in Denver. 3 years later, he was considered one of the best bronc riders in the world. Alvin was riding in the era of such names as Casey Tibbs, Deb Copenhaver, Marty Wood, and Guy Weeks. Wasn't easy for a newcomer to make his mark. In 1957, the 23-year-old Alvin Nelson was making serious advances that appeared might win him a world title. A small man with a boyish smile and a young appearance, he looked more like just another farm kid than a possible world champion bronc rider. That is, until he mounted and came out of the chute in a rodeo arena. In Casper, he drew a horse called Goodbye Now. His friend George Williams said, "It was the rankest horse I ever saw anybody make the whistle on. I don't know how the saddle stayed on, let alone Alvin." The bronc rider's bronc rider. That's what they call him. Alvin had a riding style that was to be reckoned with. Alvin won the World Championship in 1957 and was well on his way to a career in rodeo when he was drafted into the Army and had to give up his life's ambition for a couple of years. When Casey Tibbs won his last World Championship in 1959, Alvin wasn't able to contest with the great champion. But the first rodeo he entered after being released from the Army, he came back with a new start and won the saddle bronc event at Tucson. Alvin continued with an outstanding career for the next 12 years, finally retiring from the saddle bronc event in 1973. He won numerous awards during those years and qualified for the National Finals Rodeo 5 times. Even though Alvin was born in South Dakota, he considered North Dakota home, and until Brad Drummondson won his first world title, Alvin Nelson was the only North Dakota cowboy to win a world title, a distinction which lasted for 23 years. And now, he is only the second North Dakota cowboy to be inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.
That video don't leave me much to brag about, does it? It's great to see so many of my relatives and friends and neighbors that showed up here, and I sure thank you for coming. And I'd like to thank the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame for inducting me. And a special thank you to Vic Van Dyke for contacting Sean Davis and for Sean to be nominating me for this award. And thank George Williams, Dwight Graham, Delton Emerson, Guy and Joe Weeks, and Jim Van Dyke, Otto Oster, Jim Peterson, and the Mobridge Rodeo Committee for helping a lot to get me in here. And I sure thank the Hall of Fame committee for voting me in, and a big thanks to Pat Hildebrand for all the work she's done on that. And a special thanks for my wife Kay, son Louis, and daughter-in-law Arlene, and a special welcome to our grandson Jared. I have one sister, Anna Sogi, and three brothers, Palmer, Tillman, and Toby. And I thank them all for coming. My sister couldn't make it here, but my brothers did. I was raised on a ranch at Mobridge, South Dakota, and my grandparents were some of the first settlers in the area. And my grandfather homesteaded a few miles south of Mobridge. And my father died when I was 8 years old, and my mother raised 5 children and held the ranch together. And looking back, my rodeo career started in '46. Went to rodeo at Mobridge, and Jack Bushbaum's dad was producing it. And Jack was riding and winning, of course. And Jack's been a great inspiration, helped many of the young cowboys. After that, my brother Tillman and I rode all the milk cows after every milking, and we had a bunch of shorthorn cross cows, and they was harder to milk than they were to ride. And, in 1950, I was 16 years old, and my brother and I were fixing some fence about a mile from home. We had an old cut-down Model A Ford, and just a box and windshield on it. We wasn't supposed to go to any rodeos, but we loaded up and went out through the hills and went to Java, South Dakota, about 40 miles away, and I won second in the cow riding and $17. That was more money than make milking cows for a week. About then, Irv Corkow was starting. He had quite a few rodeos at Blunt, South Dakota. He had 2-3 a year. 50 and 51 went down there and rodeoed quite a little. Spring of 52, the first rodeo I went to was at Blunt. Won about 1 second in the bareback ride and won $80. I was on my way then. I thought I'd never see another hard day. And after that, I'd won the high school rodeo at Rapid, and later the National High School Rodeo at Augusta, Montana. I went to some of the amateur rodeos in South Dakota and competed with the fathers, some of the present-day great bronc riders like Longbreak and Reeves and Lamel and Etbauers, and knew them fellows. At one rodeo, some guy got hurt in the bareback riding, and couldn't get on. He was in the cow riding, so he had me pay his entry fees and ride his cow, and I ended up splitting first and second with myself. It was a pretty good deal. And in the fall of '52, I won the bronc riding at Faith, South Dakota, and it was RCA rodeo. And that impressed a few people, and Cliff Desarda, Mobridge rodeo committee man, entered me at Denver. And so I joined the RCA and went to Denver that year. And I rode all my horses. That spring, Otto Oster and Wes Allerdings and I went to Medora and Belfield and Hettinger, North Dakota. And after Hettinger, Jim Tesher asked me to go home with him, help him gather cows and on the ranch and help him. And we rodeoed then. And I stayed there and rodeoed with them quite a bit. I rodeoed traveled with Dwayne Howard and the Tesher brothers and Joe Chase and Dean Armstrong quite a lot that first year was up there. Later on, some of the great traveling partners was Lyle Smith and Bill Martinelli and Bob Robinson. They're all great friends. And then in 1954, Dwayne and Tom and John Pfeiffer and I went to rodeo at Rochester, New York, and they paid off with the gate money. So everybody, Dwayne and I, we were the last ones to go get paid, and they were down to silver. Dwayne had won about $1,000. I'd won about 800. Here we go down the street, and we each got a big sack of money. Middle of the night, we decided, well, we'd take the Western Union and send it home. We looked like a couple of bank robbers going down the street with these money bags. So, but I'd won quite a little at different rodeos, but the big one, first big rodeo I went to where everyone was at Phoenix in '55. I won the bronc riding there, and that really helped my confidence, and I beat him quite a little after that. In '56, I was splitting the bareback riding, and a horse rolled over on me at bronc riding match at Deer Lodge and crippled me up pretty good. I never did ride bareback horse a lot after that. But my mother used to say there's nothing so bad that it isn't good for something. And it's true, I would have never won the world championship if I hadn't gotten hurt at San Antonio. In '57, I had my draft nose supposed to go for a physical in March. I was leading the bronc riding up until San Antonio, and the horse too late tipped over on me in the chute and ruptured a intestine and kept me out of competition for about 6 weeks, but it kept me out of the Army for a year. And then so I won the bronc riding that year, and then in '58 I went to rodeoed until after Fort Worth, then went to the Army, and I'd went to quite a few rodeos during leave time. Win quite a little, and ended up I paid more income tax than I got for Army wages. And then when I got out, I had a real confidence booster because the first rodeo I went to, I won the bronc riding at Tucson. And I'm very grateful for the life of rodeo. It gave me everything I got, my ranch and my friends, and this wonderful day. Thank you.
Good job, Alvin. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Nice job. Thank you.
Our newest inductee, Mr. Alvin Davis. Alvin Nelson. Inducted into the hall in the category the personnel category is June Ivory.
June Bull Ivory of Pampa, Texas, worked tirelessly for many years to make the sport of rodeo bigger and better. Rodeo secretary, timer, media relations, and grand entries, June did it all. She could be as tough as nails with a heart of gold. She was on hand to unload the first horse at the first 1959 NFR in Dallas. She helped design the secretary forms and judges sheets for the Rodeo Cowboys Association and organized the first rodeo secretary school. June had a flair for color and flashy attire and often carried the American flag during the opening ceremonies of some of rodeo's biggest events. She was the first woman Justin ever selected to appear in an advertisement. As a teenager, she worked for the prominent rodeo contractor Everett Coburn and the World Championship Rodeo Company. June had a fantastic memory for who might have tied a calf or ridden someone's best bucking horse or bull. Her straightforward and no-nonsense ways landed her jobs with all of the big-name stock contractors. June says, one of the hardest rodeos I ever secretaried was the 1968 Hemisphere Texas Youth Rodeo in San Antonio. We had 1,403 entries, 2 go-rounds, and a finals in all events. The committee had told the parents that each kid would be up at least once during a performance. I'm proud to say that all kids were treated accordingly, and no one was left out. In 1954, June joined the RCA and also met and married Buster Ivory, a well-known professional rodeo contestant. Buster and June became like peanut butter and jelly.
They worked tirelessly to promote the sport of rodeo. Buster and June worked on the research to produce a book on the history of rodeo stock contractors. Again, they worked tirelessly, and on December 6, 1997, the book was unveiled at the Orleans Hotel in Las Vegas during the National Finals Rodeo. If there ever was a vote taken for the true Miss Rodeo America, June Bull Ivory would surely be one of the top nominees. Sometimes outspoken and seeming to be harsh, she had another side that seemed to be like Mother Teresa. June has a heart as big as her home state of Texas and is a proud Texan through and through. June says, all I ever wanted to be was a rodeo glamour gal and a rodeo secretary. We're happy to make those dreams come true and induct June Ivory into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Isn't it appropriate that a sound system warbles on June Ivory? I thought it was a classic. I'm Donna McSpadden, and the reason I'm here is because for once June is speechless. I cannot speak for her, but I can speak about her. And I will never get over this. I hope it is on a video, because it's a keeper. Some 40 years ago, I was at a rodeo with Clem in Texas, and Mr. Floyd Bull was sitting on the tailgate of a pickup. And he said, little lady, you're a friend of my daughter, aren't you? And I said, yes, sir, I am. And he said, you don't seem a thing like her. And I said, oh, God, I hope not. June is an original. And I think the things that you can note so much about her, other than what was on the film, is what was not on the film. How many of you who are contract personnel or former contestants, always a friend, can say you've been to every finals in some capacity that there has been, from the National Finals Rodeo to the Indian National Finals Rodeo, National Finals Steer Roping Finals, college finals, high school finals, Texas Junior Rodeo, and all of those things in between. The one thing I've observed in the years I have known June Bull Ivory is she is not at a loss for words. I have watched her take entries, cuss Buster, tell somebody their kid shouldn't be there, tell somebody else she has a baby gift for them as soon as this is over, go time a rodeo, annoy the announcers till they wanted to shut the sound system off, and the best part of it all, when asked a question, she could quote you the rule book better than any stock contractor and better than any contestant. She is a veritable encyclopedia of rodeo information. I know in 1970, when my husband, Clint McSpadden, was president of the RCA, if a question arose, sometimes it was easier to get the answers from June and Buster than it was to go to the so-called rule books. In the 18 years that he was general manager of the National Finals Rodeo in Oklahoma City, when it went from being in the red to being in the black and becoming very popular, June and Buster were there. And just a sidebar of what happened outside the sport of rodeo, it's always been my feeling that there must be something for everybody in every capacity, and the NFR Ladies' Day was born. June was one of the 5 founders of that, along with Sharon, Mrs. Jim Shoulders, Nell, Mrs. Everett Shaw, Liz, Mrs. Reg Kessler, and myself. I told Clem the idea, and he said, that's just fine. You girls do what you want to do, but promise me, Donna, you will not go to the board of directors and ask for a penny. If there's any extra money, it should go to the contestants. We lived with that for 14 years with NFR Ladies' Day. For 14 years for Christmas, I got the NFR Ladies' Day paid off from Clem, and I appreciate that. June Ivory was there every trip. The things that we have sometimes are perishable. Sometimes the greatest things we have are those that are constants. That's the truth with June. And I love the way the 25th anniversary has come up, because when she married Buster in 1954, when he was secretary of the RCA, began a romance of a lifetime with each other and with the sport. June and Buster had no children of their own. Rodeo was their child, the same that we love, nurture, provide, protect for our child. They did that to the sport of rodeo, and I think you can see that has been reflected in the book, 40 Years of the National Finals. They gave their life, they gave their heart, they gave their time to. Also, in the part of stock contractors, in that wonderful book, there is such a wealth of information within this one person. It's very touching today to recognize that there are 3 good old mares being honored. Liz Kessler, 3 bars, and June Ivory. I would be remiss if I did also not acknowledge in June's acceptance this little Indian kid from my home county of Craig County in Oklahoma that happens to be kind of a good roper too. It's an experience that June was the first female card holder in the Canadian Rodeo Association. It's an experience that June designed the secretary sheets, the judges' forms, was an instructor at the first secretary school. But what is not amazing is when you look for something in a person who has given their life to a sport as their child, are loyalty, efficiency, and dependability. One year at the National Finals Lady Day, we asked June if she would give the prayer. This was a little out of June's realm at the time. We had 400 women, and many of you were there. Sharon Shoulders is always the lady persona. So she was doing the narration, I was doing the emceeing, and we look at June in front of these women, and some of you in my age group will remember the long line girdles. June is standing right by the microphone, pulling her dress up, reaching under her long line girdle to get her prayer. She gave it. It was good. It touched us all deeply. And at our home in Chelsea, Oklahoma, I have that prayer on a yellow piece of paper that I'll cherish forever. Speaking for June, I can't tell you what's in her heart. Observing June, I can. I know when Kenny Compton made the first display and the information for this, he didn't realize, he knew it was something good, but he didn't realize how good. Today we do. It might be the silver anniversary for this hall. It might be when Reba McEntire sang the national anthem here when this was opened. It was 5 years after she sang the national anthem at the NFR in Oklahoma City. With June Ivory in 54, she married Buster. 25 years later, this hall was created for the nominees. 25 years after that, June Ivory is among those being inducted. She's a class act, she's a lady, and to her, it's her golden anniversary for the golden years you have given her, and she has given you her all. June. by both June and the memory of Buster Ivory. And would all of the members of the Hands Helping a Needy Diva Survive please raise your hand? June.
Well, I could tell the roper off right now, to get ready or do something or get their damn tack out of my rodeo office. But this is wonderful. Thank you. I love you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huh? It's a great day, huh?
I think it's so great.
Yeah, she is great. She's great.
Sure. Feel my teeth? Just make 9,300 from the top of it. I got them knocked out. I did. Thank you, dear. Okay, good. Carried over from me.
June, we love you. June Ivory. Inducted into the Hall this year in the team roping category is Asbury Schell. And Frank Schell will be accepting for the family. At just over 5.5 feet tall and 145 pounds, Asbury Schell certainly didn't fit the profile of a timed event cowboy, but his size didn't keep him from being one of the best in the sport of rodeo. The wiry cowboy came out of Camp Verde, Arizona in the early 1930s to hold his own against tie-down and team ropers twice his size. Known to his friends as Raz, Schell began his career riding bulls and earned a paycheck the very first bull he ever rode. That was enough for Raz. He dismounted and vowed to never ride a bull again. He was focusing his talents on timed events. While his size may have been a disadvantage for other cowboys, it surely wasn't for Schell. He competed in tie-down roping, team roping, and steer roping. He developed a style that often beat the much stronger, bigger cowboys who relied on brute strength. Schell had a way that didn't force things. He was said to have an easy knee in the flank. He tied him standing up. But it was the team roping where he really excelled. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, all heelers came from the hoop or scoop left side. In those days, it was called the California side. The Arizona side, led by Schell, began entering rodeos in California and started roping from the right side. This newer style was beating the Californians at their own game. Asbury, with his new way of roping, won the World Championship in 1937, 1939, and 1952. In addition to his world title, Schell was most proud of his huge win in Salinas in 1952. Roping calves and team roping with his partner John Rose, he won $3,400, an unheard of total from a single rodeo in those days. Yes, Asbury Schell wasn't one of the biggest cowboys to ever hit the road, but he might just be one of the best, and helped revolutionize roping events along the way. And we're very proud to induct the little guy with a big fast loop into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Hi, I'm Frank Schell. I'm Raz's grandson. On behalf of my late granddad and my family, thank you for this recognition. We are honored by this award and the institution it represents. Also, I'd like to give special thanks to my cousin Doug Schell for nominating my granddad and pursuing this with the PRCA. Unfortunately, my father, Eddie Schell, couldn't attend today because of health problems. He was very grateful and moved by this recognition from the PRCA. As some of you may know, my dad also won the World Championship team roping in 1954. I'm very proud of both my granddad and my dad. I have read that my granddad was small, but when I was growing up, it never really occurred to me. I mean, he seemed larger than life, both physically and voicefully. Before I came up to Colorado Springs, I asked my dad what I remembered most about Grampy, what I knew him by. He said that what he remembered most was how much practicing Grampy would make him do when he was a kid. Every day for hours, he would make my dad practice roping and tying until he got it right. And right wasn't just right, it was perfect. Apparently, he knew what he was doing. Unfortunately, I didn't know Grampy during his rodeoing days, but what I remember most about Grampy was every time I went to visit, the first thing that he would say, first thing that would come out of his mouth was, "Frank, are you ever going to be worth a damn?" That's Grampy. Thank you, and God bless.
Our newest inductee, Asbury Schell. Inducted into the Hall this year in the stock category is 3 bars.
Great Bay Mare, where did you get your name? Called 3 bars from your bloodlines, or the brand that led to fame. Oh, 3 bars, among the greats, your best.
3 bars potential in rodeo was recognized years ago by a man named Bill Macbeth, who first saw her doing her best to get rid of 2 men who were trying to restrain her. He decided then that she would make a good bucking horse and bought 3 bars and entered her in a rodeo. Reg Kessler recalled the look on Bill's face was priceless when that bronc jumped out of the chute and simply stood staring at the crowd. Macbeth decided then that there was no future for the horse. But Kessler, knowing what she was capable of, took a closer look and purchased the horse. He named her 3 bars and booked her debut at the Brooks Rodeo in Alberta. Champion bareback rider Dick Haven drew 3 bars, disappointed that he had drawn a no-name bronc. He wasn't disappointed for long. 3 bars came out of the chute and unseated Haven so fast he had the wind knocked out of him. 3 bars was famous in an instant and soon became the bronc the rodeo cowboys dreaded to draw. Some even refused to ride her. She was named top bronc of the year at the 1967 National Finals Rodeo in Oklahoma and would win again in 1973 and 1980. The horse worked for 26 years and lived to be over 30 years old. Reg Kessler started a breeding program about the time he acquired 3 bars and said that his string of champions were mostly all tied back to the mare, 3 bars. There were 3 cheers, 3 knots, 3 stars, 3 clouds, 3 moons, and 3 chimes, to name a few. 3 bars was more than likely one of the very few horses that could buck and raise colts at the same time. She was a mother 12 times, made 18 trips to the national finals, and was cited for her accomplishments at the Super Bowl of Rodeo a total of 9 times. 3 bars, perhaps the mightiest bronc to ever come out of the Reg Kessler string, passed on in 1993 and was buried in the front yard of the Kessler Ranch in Rosemary, Alberta. Today's Kessler's Ranch is littered with 3s. All of the horse's bloodlines seem to go back somewhere to 3 bars, which Reg Kessler and many in the rodeo world agree would make her one of the greatest. And accepting the Mrs. Lee.
Thank you. To the commissioners, to our PRCA board, to the board of directors also of the Hall of Fame, and to each and every one of you here today, I just want to say thank you for putting this great old mare into this hall. How proud Reg would be of this honor. Our committees, our contract personnel, and each of the contestants who came to our rodeos are what made this mare this great. We just respect all of you. From Canada and the United States, she was recognized as one of the greatest bareback horses in the world, and now this proves what we all knew years ago. We want to thank Bruce Ford for being the one who nominated the old mare.
He, of course, being 5-time world champion, that would have pleased Reg so very much. Thank you, Bruce. It's just wonderful to be here with this crowd of people. Just to be included in this group of these inductees. Our memories are just so great. Our memories of more than half a century with June Ivory. Our memories of taking an announcer across the Canadian border. He had no ID, not even a driver's license. We had quite a time. It wouldn't happen today. Also, being with T and Clint, who have been so long in this rodeo business and so consistent and such great competitors, along with all the others. And we're especially proud also of our chance of being in on the foundation of the Dodge National Circuit Finals Rodeo. How proud we are of them today for what they've become. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who are here, and especially to our family, our rodeo family, and all our friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank God. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, and congratulations to a great bucking horse, an integral part of rodeo, and a true partner. 3 bars. Inducted into the Hall this year in the notable category is Dr. J. Pat Evans. J. Pat Evans was born in Dallas, Texas on August the 5th, 1930. He grew up in the Dallas area and after high school attended Whitworth College in Spokane, Washington on a football scholarship. When he was injured playing ball, he became a student athletic trainer. And after graduating from Whitworth, he attended Grady Vaughn School of Physical Therapy at Baylor Hospital in Dallas and became a physical therapist. One day while working as a physical therapist, the department head said, "J. Pat, why don't you go to medical school and just become a doctor?" He was accepted at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical School in Dallas and became a board-certified orthopedic surgeon and a fellow of the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery. From 1970 to 1989, he was the team physician for the Dallas Mavericks and Dallas Cowboys, where he met Walt Garrison, a football player and rodeo cowboy. It was at one of those events that he envisioned a sports medicine program for the professional rodeo athlete. In 1981, J. Pat's vision became a reality, and he became one of the first physicians in the country to dedicate his medical practice to sports medicine. Seeing a need for the cowboy, just as for a football player, he set upon one of the best things to happen to the rodeo cowboy. When J. Pat speaks to a cowboy or cowgirl as to what they need to do to get back to competition as quickly as possible, he speaks from personal experience. He's taken every step himself and knows what the patient is going through. When a rodeo cowboy calls him in the middle of the night for advice, he is always ready to give advice and a helping hand. Although his main concern is the present and future health of the contestant, he will honestly let the contestant know when it's time to return to the arena. Nobody understands the desire to compete and when it is the safe time to return more than Dr. Evans. That's because nobody has done it all like J. Pat. Welcome, Dr. Evans, to the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.
I still can't believe I'm here. I'm not sure how all this came about, but I want to thank all of those that were involved in getting me into this position and for accepting me and giving me this honor. it's in my name, I know, but I feel that this honor belongs to many, many people. First of all, it belongs to Mr. John Justin and Justin Boot Company, because he saw an opportunity that he could help repay the Rodeo Cowboy for all they've done for him. The Justin Boot Company recently, of course, they're our sponsor, and they recently celebrated their 125 years of making boots for the Rodeo Cowboys, and I hope all of y'all will try on a pair of Justin J. Flex boots, because they're the most comfortable boots in the West, and please buy them and wear them and keep our program running. There are other people that need to be recognized besides Justin. We need to thank J.T. Dixon and Randy Watson and Tom Feller for continuing Mr. Justin's interest and desire to help our program by continuing as our sponsor. We also need to thank other companies that help us along the road, even though not as an official sponsor, but U.S. Smokeless Tobacco for helping our guys get stuff down the road, for the Dodge truck people, that when the Dodge trucks break down, they can always get a dealer to take care of our trucks and keep us going, keep everybody getting to the rodeos and or getting back home. And to Carl Stressman and Wrangler for keeping us all in these shirts and jeans so that we can all look decently. There's a bunch of the guys that are here today in the white shirts. That doesn't mean they're good guys because they got white shirts, but they're part of our program and part of the trainers that make this thing work. I also need to really say that the person that probably had as much to do with this as anyone that I know of is Don Andrews. When we thought of this, he was the one that could sit down, write things out, make plans. He's the one that packed up trunks, made arrangements to covers the first rodeos that we went to. There weren't very many that first year, but he was the one that had the brains and the sense to do it. My job, my interest was to treat the Cowboys and to try to help them. I had no idea about what all was involved in trying to make schedules, make budgets, to buy supplies and all that kind of stuff. So thank goodness Don was there to help us and to do all this. And it's grown from covering just a few rodeos to over 150 a year now. And we owe this success and some of this to the great trainers that we have working with us, that we have recruited over the years. Some of them were former professional trainers, some of them are high school trainers, some of them are college trainers, and these guys do a wonderful job for us. We have some physicians that we are able to, since Tandy and I can't go to all of the rodeos, we have physicians that help us. Dr. Steve Morgan from Denver, Dr. Dave Walden from here in the Springs, Dr. Pepper Murray in Salt Lake City. That figures I'm getting a brain fart again. Getting ready, Dr. Bill Singer, he came back, thank you, Brain. Dr. Bill Singer in Omaha, and we've had wonderful guys that help us around the country to keep this program going. I had a lot of things that I thought of that I needed to say. I don't know where the heck I remembered all or not, but anyway, I just want to thank everybody. I appreciate everything that everybody's done to help this program to be as successful as it has been. My heroes have always been Cowboys, and they always will be. I really have enjoyed, they gave me a new vision and a new life in starting to take care of these guys, even though one of the first guys I had to take care of was Larry Mahan when he dislocated his elbow at Oklahoma. It's taking care of him still didn't discourage me to continue to work with the Rodeo Cowboy. Thank you very much. I appreciate this award, and I hope I can live up to it.
Dr. Evans, thank you for all you do. Dr. J. Pat Evans. Inducted into the Hall this year in the bareback category, Mr. Clint Corey. One of four brothers, Clint is the youngest son of Nick and Colita Corey. At the very young age of 7, Clint started riding in junior rodeos. Even though he rode bulls and bareback as a junior, he decided after competing at the junior level that bareback was his calling, and he concentrated on the one event. In 1984, Clint got his PRCA card, and he was on his way to a career that is still going today. At age 42, he is still considered one of the riders to beat. When Clint was competing in junior rodeo, his idol was Joe Alexander, and he patterned his style after Joe. I remember how he would always tuck his chin and keep his upper body up. Just tuck his chin, lay back, and ride. As Corey would emulate his idol, he was becoming a name to be reckoned with. Soon after Corey joined the PRCA, it seemed he was destined for overnight success. In 1985, he qualified for his first national finals and nearly toppled Lewis Field for the title. Clint lost the title by just $3,900. The next few years, Clint was always right there on top, but just couldn't quite make the final mark for the world. Some say he was just too nice a guy. Just didn't have what was needed for that final drive. Bob Tallman once said, Clint Corey is probably the best liked cowboy on the circuit. Well, nice guys can finish first. In 1991, Clint gave some thought as to why things always seemed to slip away at the finals. His conclusion was that his preoccupation with winning the World Championship kept him from doing what he had done all season long. Have fun. So he formulated a new strategy. His new game plan was to have fun, make good rides, and not worry about everyone else. And it worked. Clint Corey became the 1991 world champion. After his last ride that year, he went up to the contestant seating area and looked at his wife, Diana, and through one of those Clint's big smiles said, yeah. That one word was all that was needed to tell his wife he had won the world championship. Clint continued to ride and ride well after winning the world championship, and even though he only has the one championship, he has continued to be the one to beat. He's been to the Wrangler National Finals a total of 18 times and has won well over $1 million in career earnings. Articles written about Clint in 1998 and 1999 suggested Corey's skills would sustain his career into the next millennium. They have. And it just goes to show that nice guys do finish first. We're pleased to induct nice guy Clint Corey into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Boy, I tell you what, this is awesome. I never thought I'd be here for ever. Who knew, you know, when you rodeo and you do it for a living, you just do it for fun. I mean, that's what I come and that's why I started rodeoing, because it was just, you know, it's what I love to do, and they paid me to do it. After a while, it got pretty good, so I thought, let's do it forever. This is great, you know. And when I started, I guess that was what I thought about, you know. I thought, why? I can't imagine ever doing anything different, you know, and I guess I've had an awesome career. I can't explain everything. I was telling T a little while ago, I said, boy, I'd rather you come up and talk about me and I talk about you, because I hate talking about myself. But I've got to thank so many people, and I'm going to just the inductees first. You know, the people that I'm being inducted with are great. Bob Tallman's, you know, guys talked about me forever, and J. Pat, he's the guy that held me together forever, so and made me able to compete for all these years, and I got to thank my family and friends. I see so many people out there that have supported me all my life. You know, my wife Diana, she's done a wonderful job raising our kids because I've been gone, you know, and putting up with me for all these years. You know, when you're winning, things are great, you know, and you kind of take your wife for granted, but when you're down and out and things aren't going your way and she's still there for you, you know, that means a lot. And so I got to thank her and all my mom, my dad, my brothers, everybody has always supported me forever, you know, and I can't say enough about them. My sponsors, and, you know, from Wrangler to Barstow Rodeo Equipment, who's helped me. Neil Barstow has built my riggings forever and made it possible for me to hang on to these rank bucking horses like 3 Bars and horses like that. And, you know, I guess growing up, I never really even thought about being a PRCA cowboy. I always just thought, well, you know, I'll rodeo around here a little bit, get a job, and maybe rodeo in some amateur rodeos. And, you know, like, that's my brothers and I, that's kind of our goals that we thought we'd do. Well, they were the smart ones. They got the jobs. They got good, you know, medical and everything expenses. They got it all. You know, here I'm still out here rodeoing, trying to make a living, and now I'm riding colts for a living, trying to. Still, I don't think I'll ever get done riding bucking horses. I don't think so. But I guess I have some fond memories, or a lot of fond memories of rodeo, and the first one was making the national finals in 1985 when it moved to Las Vegas. That's probably my fondest memory ever. I can still remember the excitement in the crowd and the building there at Thomas and Mack. It was just unbelievable, and like I said, I'll never forget that. And then, of course, winning the World Championship in '91 was one of those deals I didn't think I'd ever get there, finally. And then this has got to be the best, though, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know, I can't explain how it's made me feel all year, you know, and just knowing since March that I'm going to be in here with all my heroes and all the great people that are inducted. You know, they said last night there's like 176 people in the Hall of Fame, and I feel very fortunate to be one of those. And again, I'd just like to thank the commissioner and all the committee and everybody that got me here, and my family and everybody for supporting me. And I'd just like to say thanks again. Thank you very much.
Present to you Clint Corey. Inducted into the Hall this year in the team roping category is T. Wooman. He grew up roping on his grandpa's ranch outside of Veneta, Oklahoma. His family lived in town. At an early age, he had a burning desire to rodeo. He first roped competitively in a junior rodeo when he was 8 years old. He advanced through high school ranks in both calf and team roping. He roped at the college finals in 1978, but by 1980, he was ready to leave college and rodeo full-time. He teamed up with Leo Camarillo, much to the surprise of many. He was actually a student at Leo's roping school when he was 14 years old. Now, in his first year as a rookie, he was teaming with one of the masters in team roping. Leo says, "Even when I saw T as a kid come out of that box and throw a rope as fast as he did, I knew he was going to be a superstar, and I wanted a part of it." T was sensational his first year as a pro. He not only won Rookie of the Year, but won the gold buckle for the World Championship. Funny thing is, says T, Leo could have elected to go with any other header at the 80 NFR and won the World Championship himself. After all, he was only slightly more than $1,000 behind me. But he elected to stay with me, which probably gave me the chance to win my first gold buckle in my rookie year. Wooman went on to win a gold buckle 2 more times, in 1989 and 1991. He holds the record for the most NFR qualifications in all events, combined at 36, and ties Jim Rodriguez for the most times in one event at the NFR with 19. T won the national final steer roping average crown in 1998. He was one of only 4 ropers to rope all 10 steers, with an average of 168.7 seconds on 10 head. Early in his life, T. Wooman had made up his mind to be the best team roping header of all time. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. But one thing is for sure, T always gave it his best.
From the time he was at his grandpa's ranch at 6 years old to even practicing on a set of horns at his father's gas station, second place was never good enough for T. It had to be first. That attitude and hard work has certainly paid off. And it is our pleasure to induct T. Wooman into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame as our gratitude for his outstanding accomplishments.
Well, as you'll find out here shortly, this speaking is not one of my better parts. Anyway, I just need to give all the glory to God for getting me here today. I just need to thank a lot of people, you know. Here I am. I wasn't going to do this, but my parents, my mom and dad for hauling me around. I got two sisters here today. One, she didn't make it. She probably had something better to do. I don't know. Anyway, they always kind of took a back seat to me because I was only boy in the family. So they said I got all the benefits. I don't know. Anyway, Jackie and Walker, like Clint was saying, your wife, you know, they're the backbone of the outfit. Take care of everything while you're gone, and horses and driving all-night drives and all that stuff. And it's just this is pretty tough for me. Oh man, this is tough. Couldn't do it without our sponsors, our Wrangler. You know, they've been with me ever since we've been around, and I've been around for a long time. So I got several of them. This is tough. I'd rather go out there and rope against Jake and Clay or somebody. Even maybe Speed and Rich. Rather try Jake and Clay. They're out there a little older, you know. So anyway, I got a lot of friends here, close friends that help me out, and just different sources. And oh man, can't name them all. I got so many close friends that just, when times are good, you know, you can call them and they'll just tell you how good you're doing. When times are bad, you can call them up and cry on their shoulder. So, man, but yeah, you know, my sponsors: Wrangler, Purina, Coat Sally, Reefs Ranch, 4-Star, Timber Creek, Dr. Greg up there at Amarillo. He takes care of our horses, keeps them going for us, and I just appreciate everybody and all my friends. And I got notes that everything. Try to get through this a little bit faster. You know, growing up in Toledo, Oklahoma, like they said, man, I just wanted to be a cowboy and be a roper all my life. And I spent many hours roping a dummy there at my dad's gas station. And, you know, they had rodeo in Toledo, Oklahoma, and the cowboys would come through, and, you know, and I would talk to them, and they'd talk to me, and I thought that was something special. And, you know, just, I don't know, just put a lot of time and hours into it. Like I said, my mom and dad hauled me around, and whatever I wanted to do was fine as long as I stayed out of trouble. And I did that pretty good with everybody but them, and I was mainly my mom. I was always in trouble with her, but I set goals early in life, you know, winning a world championship, and like I said, I went to one of Leo's Camarillo schools when I was 14. You know, just like I'll probably said 1,000 times, you know, to some kid growing up at a school, you know,
get up there, look me up, try them one sometime. Leo, he said that to me, he said, oh, give me a call someday. So when I was 14 then, and I never even probably seen him. I went to the national finals all the time. We had some friends that take us up there. We had tickets, and they'd take us to the finals, and I watched them. And I probably didn't see him again until I was probably 77, 70, maybe 76 or so. I went to Phoenix, Arizona to a rope-a-thon out there. Bill Rohr had a rope-a-thon out there, and we went out there. Guy, Alvin, and his dad, James, and I went out there. Well, and back in them days, team rope wasn't near as tough as it was now. And I was heeling for Guy, and so we was rolling along the decent in the rope, and I don't know how we ended up. We was ahead of HP and Leo, and I was riding in the box for the shirt, and he looked at me and he said, all right, kid, the king's coming. And I says, well, bring it on, because I'm already in front of you. So, but anyway, getting back to this, was in school in Durant, and roping down there and trying to go to school and make something out of my life. Mike Beer showed up down there, and that kind of put the halt on school, and so I can blame him for something. But the national finals was going on, and it was 79 finals, and Roy was down there, Roy Cooper, and he goes, hey, I've been talking to Leo, and he was like, you ought to get your card and go rope with him. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And he goes, he wants to talk to you. So, and then about that time, Beers was getting his card, and Ole Smith, and I think maybe Steve Bland, all them guys was all getting their cards, and I was like, I'm not going to be the last left here by myself. So I went to the national finals one night with Roy and talked to Leo, and back then you didn't have to get a permit. You could just get the team roping director and 3 or 4, maybe 2 directors and 3 card holders to sign for you. So Dick Yates was the team roping director, and John Davis was the bull riding director, I think, and he signed it, and then Leo and Gerald and Roy signed my card, and away we went to Odessa and Denver, and pretty much the rest was history for 1980. We had a pretty exceptional year, and roping with Leo, it's experience. You either love him or you hate him, and so we have good times and bad times. But anyway, I'm telling you, Leo Cameron is one of my good friends. I don't know why I talk like it, but you knew where you always stood with him. It's black and white. You knew exactly where he is at, and he pushed you to do the best you can do. And but like I said, I set goals to win world championships and making the national finals, and that's what we did. One thing about it is, I went over I won the world and the national finals all my rookie year, and you talk about a big letdown, because some kid just coming from Oklahoma and jumping right in and win a world championship, you think that's pretty cool, but it starts over in January. And them guys don't really care, I'll tell you. So that starts over. But I tell kids all the time, you need to set goals and write it down on a piece of paper, and then you have daily goals, weekly goals, or whatever. But you gotta have something to survive and reach for. And then once you reach for them, you got to start a new set of goals. So, I never even dreamed about being inducted to the Hall. But I want to thank everybody for that. And, and the question keeps coming up, how long are you going to do it? And I keep telling them, as long as they keep making younger healers, I guess I could keep going. I've had so many partners in my career that it's been unreal. You know, I had Leo and Gerald and Dan Fisher, Ricky Green, Clay Cooper, Bob Harris, Monty Pesca, Rex Nosey, Alan Bach, Mike Beers, Rich Gelton, Kyle Lockett, Martin Lassell, you know, and now I got a kid, Patrick Smith. So it's been great, and I've had a great career. And you know, like I said, if I keep making younger partners and healers, and you have all the vets around. I've had several veterinarians in my career. You know, Dr. Graham and Elgin, Dr. McBride and Burnett, and Dr. Wade Markham, and Gene Fry and Fanita that always took care of my horses. And now we have Dr. Greg Winniclaus in Amarillo that takes care of everything for us. So being very fortunate in that capacity. I don't know what else to say. You know, I'm going to try to do this as long as I can. You know, you keep getting the question, how long are you going to do it? You know, as long as you can kind of be competitive and keep up with them kids, because I enjoy doing my job. You know, I keep telling them, you know, you're rodeo for a living or living to rodeo. I haven't really decided yet. And I don't know. And then the other day they told me, you know, like won $2 million, and I was like, I'll just take the cash option, take $1 million, and I'll be done. Anyway, I want to just thank everyone for coming and being so supportive for me, and it's been a long ride, but it's been a good one, and I appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Wooman, ladies and gentlemen. Inducted into the hall this year in the tie-down roping category is the fantastic Mr. Fred Whitfield. Fred Whitfield wasn't a traditional kid growing up on a ranch or in a rodeo family. As a young boy, Fred would join his mother when she would go to the neighbor's ranch to work. The neighbor had a small arena for their kids to rope in, and Fred would watch. One of the kids took a liking to Fred and helped him start roping. Fred says, even though Roy Moffitt was just 7 years older than me, he became a father figure. He would take me to junior rodeos and pay my entry fees. If it wasn't for the Moffitts and Roy, I would never have had the opportunity to do what has become my life. Fred could have played football and had Earl Campbell or Tony Dorsett as his idols, as many young kids did. But his real idol was Roy Cooper, the world champion calf roper. In 1990, Fred had an opportunity to become the first African-American cowboy to be named Rookie of the Year, and it was very important to him that he succeed. He didn't own a horse, so he would borrow other ropers' horses to rope on. That meant he had to become acquainted with different mounts continuously. It made no difference to Fred. He had his mind set on his goal and was ready to succeed. Fred was named Rookie of the Year in 1990, and the next year topped that off by winning the World Championship in 1991, a very fast climb to the top. He won $150,000 and set a record of 91.7 seconds at the NFR for his 10 performances. He placed in 7 of the 10 rounds and won 2. 1991 was only the start of Fred's successful years. He went on to win the World Championship in 1995, 1996, 1999, 2000, and 2002. A 6-time world champion, he also won the coveted all-around cowboy crown in 1999. When Fred Whitfield enters the arena to compete, you often see the spectators rise and push their hands up to the sky. It's a gesture Fred started when he would make a good tie or win a championship round. It's Fred's signature, raise the roof. As a young kid roper in that arena at Roy Moffitt's, Fred felt the sky was always the limit. And as we induct him into the Hall of Fame, Fred Whitfield is well on his way to reaching that height.
Here we go. You know, first of all, I'd like to say, today's really a special day for me because, I've dedicated my whole life to the sport of rodeo, and as a young kid growing up with, not a whole lot of resources and coming from where I come from and being able to accomplish the things that I have, it's truly overwhelming for me. And another reason why today's extra special, today's my daughter Savannah's 4th birthday. And for her dad to be getting inducted into the Hall of Fame today, it's something I'll remember and cherish the rest of my life for as long as I live. On a second note, for all the guys that's, watched me grow up and been behind me my whole career, we're making history. Today's a day that we'll probably never, ever forget, any of us. And, we worked hard at it, Roy and his family and my family and my brother. We've sacrificed a lot. There's been a lot of people along the way that's helped me get here. I've got so many special friends and family, and just like T said a little while ago, I've had a special vet for about the last 10 or 12 years, and we've got a special relationship. I've managed to have good horses, and along with a lot of good partnerships along the way, and there's just a lot of people that have been behind me, and there's no way you can ever repay back any of the things that most people have done for you the rest of your life. All you can do is give them a little bit of recognition, and I could stand here and talk all day long about the people that have helped me along the way, and it still wouldn't be payback enough. But all the people that have helped me along the way, you know exactly who you are. I'm forever indebted to you, and I love you all. And for all the fans that have supported me over the years, my fan base has grown in popularity by leaps and bounds over the last, since about 1994, when I guess it started catching on for me, and being able to go up and down the road and be your own boss and be successful at what you do in life. And, everybody asks me all the time, why didn't you play football? Why didn't you play basketball? From the very first time I picked up a rope as a young kid, it's been something that I've been addicted to, and I don't regret it one bit. Who's to say that I'd have went on to win any NFL championships or even play on the NFL team? Rodeo's been in my blood, and it'll be in my blood till the day I die. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Fred Whitfield. Before I introduce this next feller, I've got a little something I want to read here. Whereas Bob Tallman is a native of Winnemucca, Nevada, and whereas Bob Tallman is a world-renowned rodeo announcer, television host, national spokesperson, cattle rancher, and barbecue boss who has been selected to announce the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas a record 17 times, and is a 6-time recipient of the Distinguished Pro Rodeo Cowboys Association Announcer of the Year Award. And whereas Bob Tallman will be inducted into the prestigious Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame at 10 a.m. Saturday, August 14, 2004 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Therefore, I, Paul J. Vesco, as Mayor of Winnemucca, Nevada, and on behalf of our city, commend Bob Tallman, and in honor of his achievements, proclaim
August 14th, 2004, as Bob Tallman Day. Inducted this year in the contract personnel category, Bob Tallman. Bob Tallman, rodeo announcer, probably one of the most recognized names in the sport. How in the world do you tell in a few minutes about a guy who's done what Tallman has? The man's been everywhere.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere.
A rodeo contestant who found out that talking about it paid a lot more than doing it and was a heck of a lot safer. Bob Tallman was a roper and rider back in the 1960s when he persuaded, as he can do, a rodeo producer that he could do a better job announcing than the announcer. The producer said, "Give it a try," and he did. His whole life changed, and so did the world of rodeo. Bob says he paid me $100 and I thought there would never be another poor day in my life. The Count of Winnemucca was born, and rodeo has prospered for it for over 40 years. Clem McSpadden dubbed him with that name, and to this day, Bob Tallman is known as the Count. Tallman has, in addition to being a rodeo announcer, had a radio show called The Great American Cowboy. He has done numerous commercials, voiceovers, and TV shows. He goes 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and wishes there were 25. There is the right way, the wrong way, and the Bob Tallman way. And you know what? Bob Tallman usually wins out.
You talk too much, you worry me to death. You talk too much, you even worry my pet. You just talk.
Holy hoppin' hamburger! Did you see that bull bugger?
He can be abrupt. He can be charming. He can be funny. He can be sad. But always, he is Bob Tallman. Honest, straight shooting, and a rodeo cowboy's best friend. Being crowned Rodeo Announcer of the Year 6 times certainly speaks for itself. But in addition, he has announced the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo 17 times, and 9 of those are consecutive, from 1995 through 2003. Try this. Close your eyes. Let Tallman take you on a ride.
All right, everybody, it's time to ride 'em. The higher they jump, the better they buck, the better you ride, the better the score ought to be. It's rodeo time. It's about time for a little extra try. Here it comes. 2,000 pounds of humpback, loose-skinned Bellerin beast. Toes pointed east and west on a southbound bucking horse. He's going north to get the money. Rode him like he owned him. Looked like a riding at a 4-H calf on a Sunday picnic.
The NFR without Tallman would be like bread without butter. Anyone who's been to an NFR and witnessed Bob Tallman give the memorial service honestly knows the man has a God-given talent. Bob has another gift on his side. He says that he would be nothing if it wasn't for his wife, Kristen. She lifts me up when I'm down and puts me down when I'm too far up. When Bob Tallman did his radio show, The Great American Cowboy, it was a natural. After all, rodeo's Bob Tallman is the Great American Cowboy. And we welcome America's cowboy into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Got this big piece of paper, couple scratches on it. Kristen said this morning, "What are you going to say?" I said, "I don't know. What do you think I ought to say?" She said, "Not much. I've already said too much in the last 35 years. Less is more." Quite a class, isn't it? David, yes, you are blessed, and so am I. Group of great guys, 3 great mayors. And they both helped me cut my teeth doing it. So did y'all. I have been asked by, I don't know, bunches, reporters, people, what are you going to say? What are you going to give the thanks to? I said, I don't know. You can't thank the world because of those of us that are here, it's family. I was just saying thank you all, and I say that. Give the glory to Jesus Christ. Paul Tierney, one time, he won the all-around title. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. He said, I give the glory to the Lord, I'm taking the check to South Dakota. Paul Tierney was one of my heroes, like all them other guys in there, and a whole bunch of you that aren't in there, maybe never get in there. It's a cowboy. And I started using it in a press release about having this God-given talent. I don't know who wrote it down, I don't know who printed it, but I said I have a God-given talent, how blessed I was. Problem was, I said that for years, didn't live that. Once I've learned to live that, don't need to say it anymore. So that's where the glory goes. It's a whole lot easier to stand up here and talk about somebody else. If I'd have known that Donna was going to do that for June, I'd had Clem come do it for me. Clem tells a better Bob Tallman story than anybody I know. Only nickname I've ever had, he stuck on me. But it's about 2 things in my life. Where I came from, Silver State of Nevada. Where I live, the great state of Texas. I found out that I'm the first guy from the state of Nevada to be inducted into this hall. That's wrong. There's so many more great cowboys, great Western people than I will ever accomplish to be. Should have been here long before me. When it comes to Texas, it's a state of mind. You just kind of get involved and engulfed and can't get away. But there's a couple rows of people out here today. My dad's cousin, who I haven't seen in 45 years, and her husband, come from New Mexico. My mom and dad, at the young age of 83, my sister, my wife, my daughter, my son-in-law to be, and my Texas parents. I don't know whether I can say he's my dad or my father, Ralph Miller and Miss Dewey Fay. Ronnie Lay came all the way 22 hours from Telecasset, Oregon, to bring me a box of huckleberries that he picked 3 days ago and kept them on ice. You know, those are the little things that you got to think about. Where were you 10 years ago, a week ago, 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Could have been a horseback in a coulee someplace, like I was about 2 weeks ago, north of Calgary, eating Saskatoons right off the bush. If it wasn't for rodeo, I wouldn't have had a chance to go do that. My family, my dad set it up for me to be successful in the lumber business, like he'd set it successful for me to be in the cow business. 5 generations of my family have done it. Laid it out in front of me, said, here it is, son. I went and announced this rodeo, went to these rodeos, when all did this. I said, Dad, I got to go do it. He shook his head and said, okay, God bless you. I can remember $600 a week, and all we could steal, and Kristen was raking walnuts along Highway 88 in Clements, California for $2 a bag. We'd take them a load. John Hawkins can attest to that because he saw her sack them. Bob Cook, God bless him. Jack Roddy, Jack Sparrow, had no unearthly idea, but they got tired of telling me go away. And they gave me a job. Not announcing rodeos. February 3rd, 1972, my first job was with a sledgehammer in my hand with Enoch Walker, one of my all-time heroes. And if Nicole would have been a boy,
Her name would have been Enoch. Breaking down truck tires, 22 of them to be exact, put on this old truck for Bob Barnby so we could haul them bucking horses. Lex Conley was announcing the rodeo. He said, son, someday you're going to be standing right here. I said, I hope so, because I'm tired of driving these trucks, fixing these tires, and blanking these calves. Didn't have any idea what I was doing. Well, that was 35 years ago. All them stories. Thanks, Grandpa. Thanks for being here today, Grandma. My family, thank you all. Kristen, thanks for, Clint says, raising kids while we're gone. Bless you all. But I think I need to thank Bob Payne, because he took a vengeance upon his heart and soul before he quit this rodeo business, and he'll never quit it. But he was not going to rest and sleep a night till he saw me stand at this podium. BT, the same initials. We got watch bands that match. We got a lot of great stories for the last 30 years, and he took me all over the world. Introduced me to a lot of great people. And Sean Davis said, I'm going to train you and teach you, and he has, and Buck, I love you for it. 30 years. RSC Rodeos. Then Cotton Rosser come along. He said, I know you work for them other guys, but I'm going to give you a chance. Took me to Long Beach, California. It's the first time I ever went in the building. Flew me in an airplane. All about 20 minutes till he handed me the stick, and I couldn't drive a truck real good, and he said, fly this plane. We did. I'd never heard my voice in a building before. It was awesome. Then come along Mike Silvey. Called me about 10 minutes before we walked up here, telling me to love me. I don't know whether to thank him or kill him, because the first thing he did sent me with Billy Minnick, and he handed me off to June Ivory. Let me tell y'all a story. You never seen a green kid from Winnemucca, Nevada, is dependent on nothing. So Granny got through with me, and I knew where I was, and her hairdresser even told me how to do it. Pick it up, carry it, bring it here, hurry up. Buster needs you. We'd talk about him, we'd load him, we'd sort him, we'd drive from Sydney, Nebraska to over there in Colorado. All day, all night. She said, you only brought 2 shirts, you're only going to need one of them. Take that one off, keep it clean. You can drive this truck without a shirt. Now hurry up, Buster's waiting for you. That's a portable loading chute, and if you don't get there, and damn sure don't cripple nothing on this truck. Yes, ma'am. Reg Kessler called me because some guys told him that I needed to go to Canada. Flew to Missoula, Montana. In that little house in there, and it'd been raining at the ranch about 18 hours. It's time to go sort them. We got done with all that, and he said, all right, you're going with the lady. That story she started to tell was she come from Texas. Her driver's license was expired. I came from California, which was a foreign country in Montana. We got in this old Cadillac car and started out 22 hours of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Car hadn't been licensed in 5 years. Here comes this cute little Texas honey. I call her Rosa, my Texas Rose. This kid from California, as green as they come, in an illegal car crossing the border. She lied to him a while, I lied to him a while, we both lied to him a while. Pretty soon they got tired of our lies and said, gone. And the only stop in 22 hours we made besides that was at a Honorees colony. Well, I bought a pair of shoes, and I still got them. We got to Saskatoon. What an experience. They'd been having a strike. The embalmers were having a strike, and there was 13 dead people in caskets on the ice on the hockey rink. I said, well, Reg, what are we going to do? He said, I suggest that you and Leo Brown and the rest of us load them up and put them in that refrigerated truck out there. We got to get plywood and plastic in there and put dirt down on the floor and got to get to it. We loaded them up, went right up into the big truck, stacked them on carpet, 2x4s, shut the door, brought in the dirt, had the rodeo. First night it's dark in there, I mean dark. Reg rode by me and he just said, sound system sounds like hell, kid. And I said, you hired me to talk, you didn't hire me to bring the sound. For those of you that would remember the Colonel, God bless him. The only thing Reg ever expected, same as Harry Vold, all the other greats. You showed up to work, didn't bring a pair of gloves, you better be ready to bleed. My timing was perfect. Because when I tried to get a card, one man wrote me back a letter, Chuck Parkinson. So I told him, said, come on, we'll try. See all those things? You're not in control of that. I can't thank all the committees that are here today. There have been about 115 of them. Can't thank all the cities because there's been 200 of those. 44 states, Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand. But I thank you all collectively. To all the people who have come here today from one of the greatest rodeos of all times in Reno, Nevada, the Houston Astrodome, thank you for making the effort. Thank you for what you've allowed me to do. Fort Worth, Texas. Bob Watts here today and Dan Gaddis is here today. I worked for these two men for more years with a handshake before I ever had to have a contract, because you know how the world is today. You got to write it down. Than any two other people in the world. And I love you both for your confidence. One of them hired me behind the chutes. The other one hired me in a horse stall at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. They had faith. To Las Vegas, my second home in Nevada. Pat Christensen, Berlin Miller. I go back before that. First time I ever remember sitting, having coffee with Benny Binion. I didn't know that Jesus of that time wore boots and packed a pistol too. What a hero. All I wanted to do was be Jim Shoulders or Larry Mahan, and I wouldn't have made a pimple on their bottom and still couldn't today. But to all the people in all these cities that are still making it work, I say thanks. To rodeo, to the radio business, Peter Powell, Stan Garrett gave us a chance to do that radio show. To John Bumgardner and Mary Ann that are here today, that when they had a choice to hire everybody else in the world, they stuck me with Kurt Gowdy and Larry Wilcox and Bob Eubanks with Heston Pro Rodeo and put us on the map years ago. John, thank you so much for all of that. Can't say in closing because I'm not done and I'm not quitting. Last night I had it twice ask me, what are you going to do now? I said, you mean tomorrow? No, now. Like, go on and do now. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is ask you all not to give me any more awards. You got an extra one around, nobody to give it to. Put God's name on it and send it someplace. I've had more than I deserve. Way more. It's my job to give to you. This is not a graduation or a retirement. It's a rung up on the ladder success. Said by you, not by me. Red Stegall saved my life one time. First night we had that dance to tell people about Western music, Denver, Colorado. Longest night of my life. He had no more need or reason to reach his hand out, but he did. So throughout all these years, throughout all these people, whether you came a mile or 100 miles or across the country today, to be a part of my family, my class, thank you. And I want you to know one thing. Everybody has to find a place to quit, go and do something else. No quitting. Okay? No quitting. But in John 3:30, it says it's more about him and less about me. A month ago, I made a commitment to myself. I've said it to a couple of reporters. I got 1,000 days that I'm going to continue doing this. 1,000 days. 970 now. There's a couple of places that I'm going to stay and be a part of their system in the production world. And it's not my voice, or not my character, it's my endeavor to be a part of that for the rest of my life. I believe in a man that sits behind us. I don't always agree with him. And he'll be the first to tell you, there's times he'd just soon I didn't have a mic in my hand, because I say it the way I believe it. Steve Hatchell is a friend, he's a leader, said by other great leaders, he's a great commissioner. But he has a vision, he has a plan. Team Rodeo. It's not about me, it's about us. There is no I in team, but I am I'm going to be a part of his team. We're not going to raise the bar. We're throwing the bar away. Because the only thing between today and eternal life and the greatest success in the world is heaven. And the only place you can trip is on a star. Come be a star with us. That's what we need to do. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about all at once, the class of 2004, the 25th anniversary of the PRCA Hall of Fame. A couple of items for you. We have lunch for you. We want you to stay. We want you to stay and spend some time in ProRodeo Hall of Fame and see old friends. Pikes Peak or Bust Rodeo is taking place. It's our rodeo in our hometown. Mark Watson's their president, and he's here. I want you to participate and go and see the rodeo at the World Arena. How about a big thanks to Red Stiegel? Didn't he add a lot to this today, huh? What a great friend. One last thank you. I inherited some wonderful people when I came to this job to do a lot of things. NFR doesn't happen without Sean Davis, and he has a right-hand person. I have a right-hand person for the production of this, and you don't get a chance to see him very much. But in the back on the soundboard, he makes sure all of this works, and when we say, let's think of something grand and different, he says, let's do it. And work all night, work all day, work around the clock. Would you say thank you to Dean Weber in the back with the headset on? Dean, thank you, buddy. Thank you. Thanks for making it work. With that, we'll conclude. We're going to do two things. We're going to ask the inductees to come up here so that you can take a picture. But I would like to ask the class of 2004 to stand and all of the members of the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame to stand so that you can see a great rodeo team. So if you'd stand so we could honor you today. Thank you, everybody. Harry, Bob Thane. Hi, guys. Thank you for making 2004 so special. And to all of you, we are so honored that you would take time out of your schedules to be here. You make rodeo great. We're very, very proud to be here with you today, and thanks for all you do. And we look forward to seeing you here next year, 2005. Thanks, everybody.